Hey guys, it's Richard coming back at you again with this week's Gravekeeper deck profile. The deck has gone through some changes over the last couple weeks, several weeks I suppose. But we're going to talk about them today and we're going to discuss what's going on. So let's get started with this week's Gravekeeper deck profile. We're starting out, of course, never going to change, always going to be 3 recruiters. Because he's our engine's core, really. He's what makes the whole deck work, honestly. It's followed up by 2 commandants, and we are having a lot of fun with just the 2 commandants, but this week's changes make it even more fun. So we're going to keep going with 2 Gravekeeper spies. And if you don't remember, she can special summon when she flips face up. Having a lot of fun with her back in the deck also. And here's where we change it up this week, you guys. We have 2 Gravekeeper ambushers making an appearance in the deck for the first time ever. I feel so silly for never giving this card a chance before now. Like, it's so good. If you guys don't know what the Gravekeeper ambusher does, what it does is when it flips face up, it can move a card from your opponent's graveyard back to the bottom of their deck, which that means if you select a combo piece that they're going to pull out of their graveyard, specifically because they have to pull it out of their graveyard and put it back in their deck, you can disrupt your opponent's play quite easily. Past that effect, if this card goes to the graveyard after being flipped face up, he can recover a Necro Valley from the grave, which makes playing 2 Necro Valley in this deck higher value, and it's something that I just should have tried sooner. 2 Gravekeeper ambushers this week, you guys. We're following that up with our first variable card, and this is 2 copies of Gravekeeper's Descendant. Of course, I feel confident saying that you could substitute one of these for a Gravekeeper's Assailant or for a Gravekeeper's Nobleman. If you know how to use this card, I suppose it could be okay. I think it's a little weak because it has to get attacked into, but it's all the same. Or, of course, you could just not run any of those and just run 1 Descendant because this is a 41 card build this week, you guys. So either 2 Descendants, a Descendant and a Nobleman, or a Descendant and Assailant. Or just 1 Descendant. And we're ending our monster lineup with 1 Shaman who you should be trying to get on field as fast as possible every time you play. We're entering our spells now, and of course you know we're going to start with 2 copies of the best field spell ever, Necro Valley. Because of Ambusher, we get much higher value running only 2 copies of Necro Valley, and it really adds a lot more consistency to the deck. Following up by this little gem, Hidden Temples of Necro Valley, and if you don't know what Hidden Temples of Necro Valley does, what it does is it prevents players from special summoning monsters except for Gravekeeper monsters while Necro Valley and a Gravekeeper monster are on the field. Then comes our draw engine, and we're going to be using 3 copies of Card of Demise, which even with Spy in the deck and Rite of Spirit in the deck, we can still get our Card of Demises off when we need to. Spy's not such an important factor in the build that it prevents us from being able to use Card of Demise. But here comes the real good 6 card engine, draw engine, I suppose. And this is 3 copies of Spellbook of Knowledge. And if you don't know what this card does by now, what it does is it lets you either send a face-up spellcaster monster you control to the graveyard to draw 2 cards, i.e. Gravekeeper's Recruiter for a net +3. Or not for a for a 3 card stand. But you can also send other spellbooks to the graveyard from your hand to activate this card. So we are running 2 copies of Spellbook of Secrets, and that is so that we can search out our Spellbooks of Knowledge or activate our Spellbooks of Knowledge if they're in hand. But past that, if we have, say, a Spellbook of Knowledge and a Spellbook of Secrets in our hand, we can use the Secrets to search out a Spellbook of Wisdom to activate our Knowledge with, and that thins our deck by another card further. So if you say you have these 2 cards in hand, you search Wisdom with the Secrets and you activate Knowledge. Or say you have these 2 cards in hand, you can search the Knowledge and then activate it with the Wisdom to thin your deck even. Like, it's just a great thinning and a great way to get cards out of the deck and onto the field. And we're following that up with the Upstart Goblin. We're no Max C because he can be a dead draw if we use our card of Demise on it. And ending spells with Raigeki. If you don't remember what Raigeki does, it destroys all your opponent's monsters. Traps are coming up next, and we got 3 copies of Imperial Tombs of Necro Valley, best card ever, followed by 2 copies of Rite of Spirit. This is to recycle our descendants, our recruiters and our shaman. It special summons a Gravekeeper monster from the graveyard, can't be negated by Necro Valley. We have 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Little sad to see this card get reprinted and lose so much value, but oh well. We still need it in the deck at 3. We have 2 copies of Starlight Road, and this is because Twin Twisters and Heavy Storm Duster is a thing, and we are a very back row heavy deck, so that helps us protect our back row. And then we have Floodgate Trap Hole, and you can run 2 copies of that, or maybe if you don't like Floodgate Trap Hole or don't have it, you can also use 2 copies of Quaking Mirror Force, 2 copies of Summon Limit, which is highly effective against a lot of decks, i.e. Paleozoics, i.e. the World Chalice. Or you could run copies of one-ofs like 1 Bottomless Trap Hole and 1 of Compulsory Evacuation Device. And then we're going to end the main deck at 41 cards this week by playing our one-ofs of Torrential Tribute and Solemn Warning. Getting into our extra deck, we're going to go through it real quick. We have 2 copies of Stardust Dragon for the Starlight Road. We have 2 copies of Masked Hero Darklaw because we have Mass Change 2 in our side deck, rather. We have a copy of the Giant Hand. We're using the Tornado Dragon, Master Key Beetle, Diamond Direwolf, the Black Ship of Corn, Castel the Sky Blaster Musketeer, number 101 Silent Honor Arc, number 52 Diamond Crab King. It can swing over Masterpiece. We are using the Photon Pappler Operative, Gaga Cowboy, the Game Winner, and Gem Knight Pearl, a normal beater with 2600 attack. Our side deck, of course, is going to be 2 copies of Mass Change 2, 2 copies of Chain Destruction. This is for things like Trickstar. This is going to be 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. We have 2 copies of the Anti-Spell Fragrance, which can really help against lots of decks, actually. Not Paleozoic specifically. Macrocosmos. We have 2 copies of the Sticky String Kaiju Humongous. We have 2 copies of Black Horn of Heaven. And then, of course, 2 copies of Heavy Storm Duster for back row cleanup if we need to side that in. Hope you guys enjoyed this week's Gravekeeper deck profile. This deck is running extremely fast. It's being fairly consistent. It is bricking sometimes, but not often. You're going to draw into those card of Demises and the spell books, and you're going to be able to activate the spell books. So try this deck out. I'm having a lot of success with it. I'm usually going 3-1. There have been a couple weeks in the last couple months when I went 2-2, but I have been going 3-1 with this deck consistently. So give it a try, you guys. This is Richard signing out.